do you want more?
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Hey, listen, so you guys have this record out, and, you know, the first thing that grabbed me, because you guys have pretty unique artwork for all your albums and stuff, but this one, you know, made a little more sense to me in a sense, because, you know, it's got the ice cream cone with the brass knuckles on it and the hand kind of extending out and stuff. And it kind of went, you know, with the Set You Free. When I first saw that video, you know, it starts off with the piano and stuff. And it's almost like it gives you that sweetness of the ice cream, and then it hits you in the face when the song kicks in, and that's where the brass knuckles come in. I mean, that's just my take on the whole thing, but it sets up the record pretty good.
Yeah, you know, as you said, we're used to having Bishop at the pen on you know, drawing up the album covers, but this time we wanted to do something a little different, and you know, we didn't quite have something that we all loved, and then our friend, we had this idea, a rough idea in our heads that. You know, when we were doing the promo shots for the record, we just had this ice cream theme, and I don't know why, just us being silly, but somebody dropped one of the ice cream cones on the road, and somebody took a picture of it, and we thought, oh, well, that's pretty cool. That might be a good idea for like an album cover or something. So we kind of kept that under our hats, and you know, going through everything, we didn't really find something that we all loved. So we brought that idea back and gave it to our photographer friend Stacia Hand, and she came back with the child's hand and the brass knuckles and the ice cream, and we were just floored because we said, that's it, that's the one, you know.
Right. No, it's pretty cool. I mean, that'll look good on a T-shirt, on a poster, all that stuff. So that's awesome. Listen, so one of the things that you guys pride yourselves on is that you don't want to make the same record twice, and I think I've heard that quote from yourself and Bishop, I think a handful of times and stuff. You know, what do you guys, when you go in and you start writing and stuff, if something sounds too familiar to stuff that you've done before, do you guys set it aside, or how do you approach things? Because you definitely, you know, do evolve from record to record.
I think that things just kind of naturally find themselves in different eras, if you will, during the writing process. I think we kind of fall into these similarities when we're writing, and I guess furthermore, we just, you know, for instance, like these group of songs will be like 80s arena rock songs, and these group of songs will sound a lot like Dio, and these group of songs will be very you know, grungy, and I think there's just blocks of songs during our creative process that sort of form themselves, and I think that kind of leads us to you know, molding an album in that way, in that we kind of pick the best of this type of song, and especially with this record, because we wanted this record to be sort of our tip of the hat to rock and roll as a whole, you know, from history to now, and really try to incorporate all of the things that we've sort of grabbed and pulled into our blob of what the Crobot sound is along the way. So we really wanted to you know, pull from AC/DC and Van Halen and Motley Crue, while still, you know, pulling from Clutch and Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine and bands like that. So we always try to keep that you know, the chronological influences in there, but this one even more so than usual. But I think you know, to reinvent yourself, you almost have to put up no walls and boundaries, I feel. Right. So, you know, we definitely fall into these Crobot tricks, if you will, and things that that make our sound our own. And I think we've known our identity for a long time enough to be able to to hold on to that, but at the same time, if the song sounds too similar to another song that we have in the catalog, we usually scrap it unless it's a better version of that song, which usually doesn't happen because once you do it once, then it's just really a reworked version of the old one.
Mm-hmm. Right. And do you think, and you're right, I mean, this record's equally as eclectic, and it is more of a, like you said, more of a, a throwback to the 80s hard rock, As far as that goes, I mean, that's probably pretty convenient that you guys are so eclectic, because I think I would assume you guys handpick songs depending on the sets for, let's say, for a particular tour. I mean, I've seen you guys supporting other acts at least a couple of times, maybe 3 times, but I think you've always kind of fit in well, like you were saying, whether it's a Clutch or any of these other hard rock bands, or if you're doing a festival gig, you guys kind of slot in there pretty well because you're kind of a middle of the road band.
Yeah, and I think it's because we pull from all these different influences of there's Iron Maiden in what we do, and there's Al Green in what we do, and James Brown in what we do, and Mastodon in what we do. So there's these things from all these different places, and I mean, let's be honest. At the end of the day, we're all playing the same amount of notes, just doing them in a different way, right? So, we're all pulling from Zeppelin and Sabbath and the Beatles, and it's all relative. But I think we try to hold on to what makes us Crobot, and what we like to create songs that we would want to hear, and songs that we feel like fans of our kind of music will enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as far as things go, I mean, I know you were talking about influences, but for yourself, as far as like, what's your recollection of like for the very first like hard rock song or a rock song that you heard that really grabbed you and intrigued you as far as wanting to explore rock music further?
Oh man, I remember back as far as I can listening to Rainbow and Deep Purple and Sabbath and Zeppelin, and I knew about Orange Goblin and as a teenager, barely a teenager, listening to Orange Goblin and just Corrosion of Conformity, things that my friends weren't necessarily listening to, and I think I've taken pride in turning people on to new music. So I've always been on this search of new music and trying to hear and trying to find things that nobody's heard before, and I think I sort of take that approach to writing as well. And I think we do as a band that we try to write things that feel familiar, but maybe are something that we feel is also missing from the current climate of rock, and we just always go back to our influences though of when we were younger, and I think that the fact that we were raised on the same sort of bands and had similar upbringings makes it all easy when we get into the room and write together, because we don't have to have the conversations of hey, let's make this song sound more like Soundgarden. It just happens, because that's just what we love, and that's the stuff that we want to regurgitate.
Right. And and I know that you guys have been around. I was surprised because I started backtracking. I think your first record was what, back in was it 2000? No, you guys were formed in 11, right? 2011.
Yeah.
So you guys have been around for over a decade. But I think your first record came like a couple years or so thereafter. But you guys, when you think back, I mean, what's kept you guys together? Because it's been basically yourself and Bishop, the core of the band. But there's been so many bands that came out around the same time as Crobot that are no longer around. I mean, it's just kind of weird how there's people that it's almost like the slow and steady wins the race, huh?
Yeah, we've always felt that way. We've always felt that no matter what, and honestly, we've always looked at a band like Clutch, bands like Seven Dust, those bands that have been just out grinding their entire careers.
Right.
And, now they're on the other side of it, and, they've just continued on their path, whether it was, albeit I'm sure harder at times than others, but, I think that's the price to pay a little bit for originality, and we've always kind of taken that philosophy as like, okay, let's take the slow and steady course because we feel that's the trajectory that's more sustainable. The quicker you rock it, the quicker you fall, and I think we've tried to just maintain and hope that we continue an upward trend and just keep the work ethic in line with our nose to the ground and taking it day by day, and that the rest of it will come with time, and I think that's paid off so far. But honestly, even not even trying to hide the fact that this is all we can do. I mean, if anything, if there's anything that COVID has taught me as a person, is that I need to perform live music. I need music for my soul, and I certainly never took it for granted, and we've never taken it for granted, and we've always thought that we would be on this long haul and long grind, and that's all part of the love of it. Is that it sometimes it takes that, and all good things take time, right? So we've just continued to do what we love to do, and thankful to do it at any capacity.
Right, and I would imagine even at this point with with the four studio records, what EPs and stuff like that. I mean, I know oftentimes when you think of a legacy act, classic band or whatever, it's pretty difficult to kind of whittle down the set list. But I mean, I think even with you guys, I mean, with having 4 records out, now you have to probably insert, Set You Free, maybe Better Times in the set, Something's Gotta Go. How hard is it for you guys to develop a set? And then also, I would imagine too, you have to customize probably some of the songs to whomever it is you're either co-headlining or maybe even supporting, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Recently we were out on tour with Danzig and Cradle of Filth, and Cradle of Filth is wow. very very different, and that's that's a very eclectic bill. So we were a little scared going into it, especially learning that 3 dates into the tour there was going to be a band on before us that was a black metal band. So it was a black metal band, Necrofire, us, Cradle of Filth, and Danzig. So we're kind of sandwiched between these two black metal bands, and but we're kind of used to that environment, to be honest. We played a lot of those kind of bills in our infancy here in central Pennsylvania. There's a lot of heavy music, and more so than anything else. So we've kind of become accustomed to chameleoning ourselves within these heavier bills. So but it definitely lends to some heavier set lists going into those kind of tours.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, I mean, what are a couple tunes that you guys switched out and inserted into the set for that particular tour? Because that is, I mean, you're right. I mean, you're in between two really dark bands, right?
Yeah. Well, Nowhere to Hide, which is a top 10 single off of our first record. Right. We didn't play just because it didn't feel like it was right to play that song. So,
Wow.
you know, we definitely played our heavier set. Songs like that kind of whittled their way out, and even songs like "Burn," which is actually a heavier tune, just for, you know, maybe just live momentum reasons. To just, you know, we pulled it from the set. We wanted to have a very energetic 40-minute set and a heavier set as well. So we kind of pulled the mid-tempo songs as well.
Right. And you guys have a big gig here with this Psycho Las Vegas festival coming up. So how geeked are you guys about that? Because that's another exposure, you know, gig where it'll draw in some people that might have not even heard the band.
Yeah, not to mention the lineup is just incredible for that one.
Right.
You know, it's just some great bands, and to be quite honest, a realm that we really try to affiliate ourselves with. You know, we tend to lean a little bit more towards active rock these days, but you know, we've certainly grown up. And as a band and as musicians with a lot of the stoner rock and doom metal bands. I mean, half of our name comes from Crobot, so
right.
you know, we've definitely drank that Kool-Aid for a long time. So it's gonna be cool to be surrounded by those bands.
Cool. Hey man, I just got one more and then I'll cut you loose. But thank you for your time, and you know, I hope to catch you guys when you guys swing by my area at some point here. All right, so here's what I have. It's like a two-part question, and see what you have. Who was your the first famous person that you looked up to that you ever met, and how did that influence or shape how you interact with your fans?
You know, I'll take it to Lemmy World, and it not so much that I, you know, grew up a huge fan of Motorhead, and not to say that I am not a huge fan of Motorhead. I am, but you know, he wasn't necessarily one of the guys that you know, influenced me particularly as a musician. But when we did the tour with Motorhead, and just you know, knowing that, you know, who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God? Trick question. Lemmy is God. You know, he's the guy. He's the guy. So walking into a room, and he was hundreds of feet away. I could still feel his aura, you know, and it was just so cool to see him talk to people after shows and just walk out in the crowd. And, you know, a guy like Lemmy, who is of course going to get stopped anywhere he goes because he's just instantly recognizable, just took the time and talked to everybody. He had to be pulled away from his fans. So it was really an incredible thing, and humbling to see a guy like that and a guy like in that stature just really take the time and just be so grounded and give so much time to his fan base.
Nice. Okay. Well, man, thank you for your time, and we'll get you guys a link. And like I said, hope to see you soon out my way, and hope to talk to you again.
Absolutely, Ruben. Thank you so much.
All right, well, take care, huh?
Yeah, you too. Appreciate it.
Yeah, bye.